Ooh. Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. My name's Josh. Cultivate Your Best Self is about seeking a deeper understanding of yourself, who you aspire to become, and how and why you value time and money. So today's going to be a little bit different than the previous live streams. I was talking about psychology of money the last week in the last live session, but today I'm going to be reflecting a little bit more on kind of where I am in life and share some life stories with you guys. And anyone that jumps on, feel free to ask me anything about it could be about my life, it could be about self-management, it could be about knowledge management, it could be about money management, whatever is kind of like within the realm of this channel, or if you want to know about me personally, feel free to ask. But I'm going to be sharing, kind of reflecting on where I am in life right now, and just sharing some life stories that come to mind as I start talking about a little bit about myself. And so hopefully this gives you guys a little bit more background into the type of person that I am, how I was raised, and just kind of keep it casual today, keep it kind of chill, and just hang out if you feel like doing so. But grab your snack, grab your drink, whatever it might be. I've got my water right here, and yeah, I'm gonna take a break from our usual giving you guys information on things that I've learned, and I'll jump back into psychology of money on Thursday's live stream. But yeah, I just wanted to be a little bit different today. Hey Suzanne, welcome to the live stream. Ooh, little red spot. Hey Suzanne, how's my microphone? I'm gonna see. Maybe if I turn it up a little bit more, it comes through a little bit more crisp. I don't know, or just with more volume. I'm trying to adjust the microphone, but yeah. So for those of you who don't know, AMA is ask me anything. It could be like I mentioned, it could be anything about related to my life. It could be related to the things I cover on this channel: self-management, knowledge management, or money management. But nice, okay. And maybe it's because it's like right here, kind of in my face too. But yeah, I mean, starting with kind of reflecting on where I am in life. So today I kind of took a pretty big step. At least it felt like a really big step to me. To a lot of other people, it could have just been like any other day. But to me, I'm kind of proud of having done this. But I was thinking for a long time about kind of announcing to everyone that I was going to be switching kind of the focus of what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, or what I'm going to choose to do for the rest of my life. And I've been doing architecture for the last 14, 15 years, and then before that I was in school for 5 years. So it's been a long time. It's been a long time that I've been kind of in the world of architecture. And I growing up, especially like elementary school, middle school, and high school, sometimes they give you these assessments, or these kind of quizzes or tests that are supposed to identify like ideal careers for you. And I pretty consistently got architect. And while I did go to architecture school, and I practiced architecture and was in the industry for 14, 15 years, I never actually became an architect. There was additional testing that you had to do outside of schooling. And I chose instead to enjoy more of my life outside of work, rather than kind of dedicate myself to getting licensed. And that kind of, I would say, like, it didn't really hold me back. I still could have moved forward in my career in architecture, but it kind of felt like I got really good at a specific role, and I was kind of kept in that role. And at the same time, like, I never really pushed to move past it, and I just kind of stayed in that role because it felt somewhat comfortable staying in that position. And I wasn't really I wasn't really satisfied doing it, and I didn't feel fulfilled, and it took me many years to kind of figure that out. And over time I kind of realized that practicing architecture wasn't really for me. And there's a lot of people, a lot of people that I know and friends that I have that find it extremely interesting and fulfilling, and they really love design. But that over the years, my my love for architecture was diminishing over time. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I really admitted to myself that I needed a change. I was living life too much in the comfort zone, and I needed to find ways to push myself out of it and figure out what I was going to do instead. And so last year, it started with reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. I read that book and started a habit, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I started a habit of reading about a page a day. And at least that was kind of like the goal I set for myself, at reading at least one page. But usually that turned into reading multiple pages. And last year I read 7 or 8 books, and prior to that I hadn't read for a really long time. And it really opened up my mind to a lot of the possibilities of or opportunities that I was missing out on. Not working on myself, and not working on my personal growth, not spending enough time investing in my own growth, my own fulfillment, my own happiness. And when I realized that, I wish I had I kind of wish I had realized it sooner. But this is something that a lot of people go through, right? Like they live their life in the comfort zone, and it's just our brains are kind of wired to stay comfortable and to stick with what we know, because anything else is either like too hard or too difficult or too stressful. It takes work. It takes more work than we're willing to put in, and no one really tells us that you find more fulfillment when you put more work and effort into the things that you do, especially when they have meaning to you. And if you're doing things day in and day out that have no meaning to you, it's going to wear you down over time. Right? And it's discouraging to me, like this idea of people out there needing help and not realizing that it kind of starts with working on yourself first, and then everything else seems to follow. And it took a long time for me to figure that out, and now I'm finally at a point where I'm ready to move forward in pursuing my next big thing, which is becoming a life strategist and accountability coach. And this is going to be weird, I think, for a lot of people who personally know me and have known I've been in architecture basically my entire life. And for them to kind of see, and the reason why I say for them to kind of see this today is because the thing that I'm proud of that I did today was announce on Instagram, my own personal profile, and I announced on Facebook in my stories that I am offering basically a discounted free month. It's not free, but it's discounted month of life strategy and accountability coaching. And I think that's going to take a lot of people by surprise. Like, what is Josh becoming a coach? Like, what? And it took me a long time. It took me longer than I expected to get there. And part of that comes from at least I think it comes from fear within me of, what are they all going to think? I think some people have these preconceived notions that coaches are not effective, or they scam people. I think there's a lot of bad coaches out there that have scammed people. That's true in a lot of different careers, a lot of different areas, industries. A lot of people get scammed with all kinds of courses and trainings, and you name it. There's tons of scams out there for sure. But I don't know. I guess it finally came to a point where I was okay with whatever anyone was going to think, because this is something that aligns with my own core values, right? Like last year I spent I spent like 2-3 months, not obviously not all, not 24/7, but like over time I spent developing my core values, and it was an explorative process. But I finally came to the conclusion that my top 5 were my health, right? Because if my health is not at the top of my game, literally everything else in my life suffers. And I think that's probably true for everyone. If you're not working on your health, there's got to be some way that you're likely suffering, and the likely answer to that suffering is doing some form of physical or mental exercise that can get you physically or mentally healthier. So that's my number 1 core value. Number 2 is love, and that deals more with relationships, right? Kind of cultivating the more important relationships in my life, because one of the things that people at the end of their life say that they regret the most is not spending more time with their loved ones, or cultivating the relationships that were important to them, or regretting having a fight with a loved one and not speaking to them for years, and then up until their deathbed having reached out and reconnect with them. But yeah, relationships is like one of those things where we know from research and studies that cultivating your relationships is one of the most important things in terms of your mental health, your happiness, fulfillment. It makes the experiences that you go through more enjoyable, especially when you're able to share those with someone. So yeah, that's my number 2, love. Number 3 is growth. And this is something that I started exploring last year, but growth is so incredibly important for everyone, I think, or I believe, right? I believe that growth is such a core component to understanding yourself, to finding more joy and fulfillment in your life through curiosity, through learning, through putting into practice what you learn, so that it moves you forward in life, right? There are going to be certain things that you discover that you never really realized were incredibly important to you prior to trying it. And a lot of people go through their entire lives without trying a lot of different things. It could be from hobbies to careers, or what else? I think hobbies and careers is like really the biggest places you can explore, but like hobbies could be like both active and artistic, and like there's so many categories in hobbies, but yeah, growth incredibly important for everyone. And then my last 2 core values are impact and integrity. And impact because I myself realized 3 years ago that I wasn't happy with what I was doing. I spent basically another 2 years just living unhappily, kind of complaining to myself. I'm not really much of a complainer out loud. like to my wife or to my friends or anything, but I know I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's unhappy with where they are, either in their careers or their relationships, or where they are financially. That there might be like one category in your life that you're just like, man, I just wish things were better in this area of my life. And that's kind of where I was. Like I was good with my relationships, I was good with my health, but I wasn't good financially. I wasn't good, career wise. I wasn't fulfilled, and it was getting to me, and I could see that. And I know there are a lot of you out there kind of in that same situation. And what I would tell you is, focus on growth, right? Focus on your cultivating your best self, right? Because when you work on yourself, so many other things like start to present themselves to you as opportunities, and you don't really recognize those until you start understanding what your own core values are, what you aspire to become. What are your goals 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And while I can tell you, like, I'm not really sure what my goals are 10 years from now, I can tell you, where I want to be 5 years from now. But whether or not, that comes to fruition, is up to me to take action on. And what motivates me to continue taking action are the core values that I live by, that I believe in, right? And so impact being one of them. I mean, that's why I'm here talking on this live stream with maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 viewers. But still, right? Like I'm here to share what I've learned, share my experiences, and just share kind of who I am with you guys. But yeah, so impact and then integrity. The last core value being integrity, wanting to live my life. When I give people advice, I want to be able to say, because I've tried that, I know it works. And one thing that I have to get myself to understand too is that just because it's worked for me doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for everyone. And that's okay. I want to be able to offer other types of advice that I know has worked for other people. And so that's why, I love to educate myself on multiple methods for, say, cultivating core values, or figuring out, who you want to become a year from now, or 3 years from now, or 5 years from now. There's different methods for everything. For emotional regulation, that's really important. Emotional regulation is huge, because if you can't control your emotions will get the best of you, and will end up kind of overriding the rational and better decisions that you can make for yourself. And like for me, for example, like my kind of sense of fear that I've been kind of carrying with me has prevented me from just announcing to people, hey, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a life strategist, right? I'm going to help people figure out what they want to do with their lives, what their, what direction or path that they can take that aligns with, who they are as a person, what they believe in. And I feel like I'm at a point where I have enough knowledge and enough life experience to help people in that realm, right? In that sphere of influence in people's lives. And so today, I took that big step of kind of announcing on my Instagram and Facebook, hey, I'm offering three discounted sessions for the first few people that show interest, and I'm going to coach them for 1 month to kind of get my confidence up, and to kind of get my feet wet in what the process is going to be like. Because I have a process in mind, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it's going to go when I'm actually working with clients. And so I want to be able to have a better understanding of what my clients want, and have a better understanding of what the process is actually like when I work with people. And another big step that I took was I actually I don't know if you guys know of Rob Dial, but he's a mindset. He's a mindset mentor, and he's a coach. He coaches other coaches, but he has a team of people that work with coaches to help them get their business off the ground. And I met with a couple of people from his team, and that was kind of exciting because that's kind of like another big step in my journey of taking on this new role in my life. And it's been scary, it's been exciting, it's been kind of a roller coaster of of emotions, but I'm really happy with the fact that I'm taking these risks, right? I mean, I have a almost 4 month old son now, and we have a nice cushion in terms of our finances, but that's not going to last forever. And I could have taken a job in architecture, or at least I could have been searching, or continue searching for work in architecture. But with the economy being what it is right now, and interest rates still being so high, it's tough for me to find work, especially like in the area of expertise that I'm in. It's really slowed down right now, and a lot of places aren't hiring. So I have this opportunity to kind of really push myself forward in this new direction in my life. And it's like I said, it's like exciting, it's scary, it's um, these are great steps moving forward. I agree. I agree. They're kind of they're big steps for me. I mean, it's like a whole different world. And I think the opportunities and the the impact that I could potentially have on people's lives, on the world, is kind of limitless. And it's up to me to decide like how far I want to take this. And I think that what I could be earning doing this too, it could be exponential compared to what I was making in architecture, which is also pretty exciting. But yeah, that's kind of like where I am right now. And I kind of want to shift into how did I get here? And I want to kind of go back all the way to some stories from when I was younger. And I'll go back to, I guess, elementary school. And that's as far back as I can remember when I took my first like assessment. And I think I want to say it was the sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade. But yeah, we took an assessment, and I got architect as, and I couldn't tell you what the questions were because it was so long ago. But I was one of very few who, actually, I think I might have been the only one that got architect as, and there was like, I want to say there was at least like 30 different careers that were on that assessment that, once you take it, that you could have gotten. And it was just surprising to me that every time I took a similar type of assessment, that I almost always got architect. Actually, I only ever got architect. But yeah, in elementary school, the things that I kind of remember are, I remember really enjoying sports. I was pretty good at sports. But I'm what? How old are you when you when you're in elementary school? You're like between like 6 and 10 or 11 or 12 years old. I remember being good at sports. I remember that the subjects that we were learning weren't particularly challenging. It was rare for me to feel challenged. Even when I moved on to like middle school and high school, when I was taking like the more advanced classes, I everything kind of came easily to me. And one thing that I just recently learned from the book that I'm currently reading, or one of the books that I'm currently reading, which is Emotional Intelligence and Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. I found out that academic performance, how you do in school, has only a 20% influence on how well you do in life. So, you could be excellent at taking tests, at doing your homework, writing essays, whatever it is, in academics, be like at the top of your game. You could be, they did a study in Chicago of like, I want to say like 100 valedictorians and salutatorians. These are the kids that are like at the top of their class. I wasn't valedictorian, but they did this study and they followed them throughout their lives. And these students at the top of their game, like the top students getting the highest grades, only about 20% of them ended up going on to a career that they did really well for themselves. And then the rest of the 80%, they were like either, a lot of them were jobless, a lot of them were working jobs at like kind of regular jobs, like at the supermarket or restaurants, waiting or cooking, or whatever it is, according to kind of like society's standards. Like it seems unusual for students of such a high academic performance to not perform as well as you'd think when they go on to live the rest of their lives. And part of that is because emotional intelligence really plays a huge part. And I'm not saying it's that 80% the rest of, but it's like, I don't think there are enough studies out to show like how big of an impact it is. But a lot of the times what studies and research finds is that emotions play more of a role in the decisions that we make throughout our life. And the thing is, like, as we go through elementary school, middle school, high school, we're not really taught about how to deal with our emotions, how to handle our emotions. And it kind of relies on like the parenting, right? Like your parents teaching you the proper way to handle your emotions. But if if the parents aren't well versed in, oh, my light just turned off. Let me connect it really quick. Okay, I'm back. If parents aren't well versed in how to handle certain situations emotionally, then we kind of have to figure it out for ourselves. And the younger generation right now is, I think, woefully undereducated in how to handle their emotions. And they are bombarded by lifestyles that aren't realistic because of social media. And how did I get into this? Oh, that like the top academic performers don't necessarily do well as they get older because we're not really taught how to handle our emotions. And that's one of the things that I really want to help people strategize on in their lives. Because if that voice in your head overrides a decision that is good for you, then obviously you're not going to make progress in areas of your life that you want to see progress in. And it can be difficult to kind of break out of these repetitive cycles that you go through in life, because you don't have the strategies, you don't have the tools or resources that you need to identify like what type of emotional sabotaging that you're doing to yourself. And so I'm really glad I'm reading this book. It's going to help me tremendously in this new path that I'm taking in my life, this new career of life strategy and accountability coaching. But yeah, so going back to So going back to, what it was like for me in elementary school, right? Like I didn't feel challenged a lot of the time. The work seemed easy to me. I grasped ideas quickly, and if I were, if I were to tell my wife that, like, she would call me gifted. but I feel like it was like that for quite a few people, right? Like, um, a lot of my friends, I feel like, did pretty well in school, and I one of my friends was valedictorian, and yeah, there was just certain things about school that I just didn't feel challenging, and I was kind of a loner. I was kind of like a nerd. I had the braces, I had glasses, I had bad acne. I kept to myself. I was very observant of how other kids acted, and it was kind of interesting for me to see the interactions between other kids, between other like cliques, like the groups of people, like the football players and the cheerleaders, and people that were in band, chess club, people that were in chess club. Like I got a good kind of understanding of kind of like how they all were, and it was just I kept to myself, like I said, and I was just observing other people. You okay? And yeah, so that was kind of a combination of like elementary school and middle school. Middle school, like, I don't remember much. Like, middle school was only 2 years for us, right? Seventh and eighth grade. I remember doing a little bit of track and field. I got a little bit more involved in being more active, and I had like a really close group of friends. It was like, I can remember three, four people off the top of my head that I was particularly close with, that I hung out with the most, and like one of my best friends that I met in eighth grade. It was either seventh. Well, I met him in sixth grade. I knew of him in sixth grade, but we didn't actually like start becoming friends until eighth grade. But he's someone that I still keep in touch with today. In fact, like, I'm in a fantasy football league with him and some other friends that we knew from high school. But um, yeah, I don't really remember much from middle school, and still, like, like I said, like, I remember not feeling challenged. I remember everything being kind of easy. I was When it came like to homework, like, I was one of those kids that, like, as soon as I got home, I would get it done, and then do whatever. Like, I would like watch movies, or well, I don't really remember what I did. um, or maybe play with my sister, or like watch, I don't know, like watch TV. It's kind of hard to, like, when I think back on those times, like, it's just, I don't think I was present in those moments, so like it's hard for me to think back on like what life was like then. And it's crazy cuz like it almost doesn't feel real cuz it was so long ago. But in any case, high school high school was I felt like high school was a series of liking different girls that felt like were out of my league. um, Girls that were, maybe not the brightest, but were popular. Were I thought they were pretty, and obviously probably not good for me, but I was a teenage boy, and I didn't know any better. But I do also remember like being more aware when I was in like early high school to like later on, like senior year, of the kind of like the situation that my dad was in. And when I was younger, when I was 6 years old, my parents divorced, and I do remember, the the evenings or the nights that my dad would come home in a rage, and my mom and my dad would argue. That was something that kind of imprinted on me. I think because it was such a I wouldn't say it might have been traumatic, at that age, but when I think back on it now, like I don't think it has that much of an effect on me, other than like, obviously I don't want that for my family, and I think I have a much I'm not an alcoholic, and I feel like I have a much better grip on my emotions, and I think I help my wife have a much better grip on her emotions as well. I definitely know, like, arguing with my wife, especially in the beginning when we would have arguments, was a lot tougher than it is now. Like, we're much more open to hearing each other out, to calming ourselves down first before we actually kind of start talking to each other again. Things that are a little bit healthier when it comes to like having a disagreement, or yeah, just trying to overcome obstacles. And but where am I going with this? Like, yeah, being more aware of my dad's situation, and how that played a role in how I wanted life to be for my son. And it could go one of two ways, right? Like, um, stories that I've heard of alcoholic fathers, and the kids going on to being alcoholics themselves. But I think that's more the case when what are you doing? I think that's more the case when the kids aren't in a situation that, basically, like, when kids are in a situation, when they grow up to be adults, like, they're in a situation that's very similar to what their dad was in. And because they never knew how to process their emotions, process, the experiences that they had, it affected how they Uh-oh. I think he might be either getting hungry or has a dirty diaper, not sure. No. My wife's right there with him. Uh but yeah, like, there's two routes that I've seen usually occur, and it's like the kids will follow in the father's footsteps, become alcoholic themselves, maybe become abusive with their partners, and end up being like kind of absent for their children's lives. But to me, like, the way that my dad was kind of growing up, it made me want to be a better person. Like, not that he's a bad person, it's just, he had his own set of like life circumstances, didn't know how to properly process his emotions, and he kind of sought to cover things up, or make things feel better through the drinking. And that's what he chose. That was his choice. And I think, if I were to ask him, and if I thought I could get an honest answer from him, I think he would probably say, like, I didn't have a choice. Like, that was just how I coped with things, and that was the only way that I could cope with things. And I don't want to talk bad about my dad. It's just, that's the life that he's living. And I want better for my family. And and I'm sure, like, if he were to hear this, like, that would probably be like a great answer for him to hear. Like, you want your kids to be better versions of you, right? At least ideally that would be the case. Like, better versions, and like more improved than what you've been through in life. Yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say about that. But what else do I remember from high school? I don't really remember much else. Like there were certain classes that I found more enjoyable than others, like psychology and physics, which were pretty fun. Mainly because of how enthusiastic and energetic the teachers were, and that was kind of a an important, I think, lesson that I took away from the kind of energy that you put into what you're teaching. The student, I think the students could feel that, and not necessarily like, I'm sure there was a lot of students that had no interest in the topics. They just had to choose an elective and ended up choosing either psychology. Physics was not an elective, but it was a more advanced class. But yeah, there were definitely students that weren't as interested in psychology, but psychology to me was like one of the most fascinating subjects in high school, and I really took to it. Like I remember reading the textbook that we had for the class. I read that entire thing, I think, within the first like week or two, and it helped me understand a lot about about my own situation, about how my mom handled things, emotionally and with her work, and understanding things like why she would come home so angry when she would have a bad day at work. Just those types of things were it helped me process. It helped me process emotions better. It helped me process what other people were going through. It made me more empathetic towards other people, and I think I carried that with me through my entire life. And it wasn't, I took an interest to it quite a bit when I was in the class and a little bit afterwards, but it wasn't until about a year ago that I really started getting into psychology again, like understanding why people do the things that they do, how our minds work, how our emotions control us, how our brains work, getting into like even more specifically the neuroscience behind you know why we do the things we do, why smart people do dumb things, and and yeah, it's just endlessly fascinating. But yeah, that was one thing that I remember from high school. And then the physics class was just fun because the teacher was really fun. And I guess the lesson that I took from that is, when it comes to teaching people, if you're really excited about the subject and people are actually like kind of willing to learn and eager to learn what you have to teach, then your excitement will get them into it, and it'll only enhance their ability to learn what it is that you're teaching. And so that's one of the things that I really need to bring more energy into the things that I talk about, because I see a lot of professionals, people with PhDs and master's degrees and years of research doing this or that, talk about a subject, and then I learned that several years of research showed that people tend to disagree with the facts when, and and it's really difficult to take interest in what they're saying. Like, sure, like they're experts in what they're talking about, but when you can't communicate in a way that provides enough energy, that provides enough enthusiasm about what it is you're talking about, then it's really difficult for someone to really listen and hear what you're saying. And I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but it's just a fact of life that I've seen from people that are really great at communicating versus people who are just either okay or below average at communicating. And one thing that I learned from Vin Jiang, who's an expert in communication, is that you can be technically brilliant at what you do, but if your communication skills, like let's say your technical skills are like at a 9 or 10 out of 10, if your communication skills are down here at like a 2 or a 3, people will perceive you more in this area down here than up here, regardless of how much experience or expertise or education that you have behind you. You can communicate things clearly with authority and enthusiasm and and in a way that really gets people's attention, then it's going to be difficult for them to really like take you seriously and learn from you. And so that's one of the things that I hope that I carry with me, especially into this new coaching career that I want to pursue. But that was high school, and now going into college. So college was a whole different thing, because I remember when I started middle school, that's when I really started breaking out really bad with my acne. And that completely shattered my confidence. It was I spent basically 7th grade to my senior year. How many years is that? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's like 6, 7 years of putting myself down, calling myself ugly, calling myself worthless. For years, I lived with this mindset of like I wasn't good enough. I'm not good enough for anybody. I'll probably never be good enough for anybody. I could be the smartest person in the room, but what does that matter if I don't look good enough? No one's gonna pay attention. People are gonna ignore me, and I lived a long time with that mentality, and that carried into, despite like how much I tried to change that in college, it carried with me for many years afterwards, and it was difficult to work up the confidence to not care so much about how I look, and to just live my life according to my own standards and my own beliefs. And it wasn't really until last year that I really developed and understood my core beliefs. But I do know, and this is part of the story, when I was in college, but I do know there was, I understood that if you go against, in a really dramatic way, against your beliefs, it can be devastating to you, like emotionally, mentally, and I'll go into what I'm talking about. But it's already 6:50. I might save this for the beginning of next on Thursday's live stream, but yeah, actually I think I will. I'm gonna save like my college years for the next live stream, which is Thursdays, and then I think after that I'll continue with next Tuesday. I'll continue with psychology of money, but I don't think it'll be like like last Thursday's live stream, where I was kind of ill prepared for talking about the main points that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, so I'll probably end it here. So this coming Thursday, the live stream, I'll talk about college, life after college, and then up to the point where I am now in my life. So I don't know. I hope you guys, got something from this. I hope you found it mildly entertaining, but hopefully it gives better insight into kind of the person that I am. And again, like if you're watching this after the fact, leave questions for me in the comments, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. And yeah, I think that's it for this one. And as always, keep learning and keep growing. I'll catch you guys in the next live stream.